All right, champ, we get an Ask Jay question. You want to answer that?
Yeah, so the question was is how, I mean, today's changing, it's the evolution of meal prep, right? And we didn't have meal prep back in the day, so like when I would travel to my first Mr. Olympia, I remember, you know, I would actually pack a huge cooler, like, you know the big coolers you take to the beach, right? I would actually write my name on the cooler, and I would actually wrap tape around it once I sealed it and fly with that. That would be a check-in piece, so it would be considered baggage, right? So what I would actually do is, you know, the George Foreman grill was popular. I had my Foreman grills, you know, they're all my own videos, but I would actually cook all the food ahead of time, okay? So I'd have it all prepped, so I'd weigh out all the fish and chicken, and it was hard because we were trying to decide, like, you know, things change. Like if you get to the week of the show and you're traveling somewhere, right? You get to Las Vegas, let's just make it Olympia, for example, and I'm living in Massachusetts or even California at the time. Can't cook, I live staying at Mandalay Bay, can't cook, right? There's no kitchen. I didn't have a kitchenette. So what I would usually do is, you know, I would prep all my food at home and I'd weigh every ounce and I'd write on the front on tin foil. So I'd cook the fish, put it in the tin foil, and I'd say 8 ounces, 12 ounces, whatever it was. I usually didn't have to eat like 12 ounces of fish by that point because I was carb loading. So I was eating, you know, a lot less protein. I was eating more carbs. So I'd have the sweet potatoes. Then I would have like, I bring the rice cooker, you know, that we're using over here today. And I would actually cook the rice. When I got there, I'd actually be able to plug it in and cook the rice, and kind of, that would be the fresh thing I'd eat. But as far as like that, when we didn't even have microwaves, okay, we basically used the Foreman grill. So it was just a plug in. You just plug it in and boom, you keep it in the tin foil, and then you just open the tin foil and you dump it out, and it's like it was just freshly cooked, right? So that was like how we microwave food. And I mentioned the rice cooker, and then the potatoes the same way. I would just put them in the Foreman grill, and I carry the Foreman grill, keep it in the box. I'd actually buy one maybe sometimes when I got there. The key is we always had to get refrigerators, so I bought refrigerators, I bought microwaves. Buying a microwave was cheap. It was only like $100 when I got there. So most of the time I'd just buy a microwave and just give it away to somebody that was there. I didn't even fly back with it, or, you know, I'd actually fly with it and, you know, check it in the plane depending on how much baggage I had. But that was the early days. I mean, never allowed anyone, I didn't order hotel food. I remember when I used to come to Olympia and people like Paul Dillette would order straight from the menu at Mandalay Bay, you know, and I didn't want to trust the food there. And you know how it is, when you go to a restaurant and you say, I want 8 ounces of meat. How often do you get the 8 ounces?
Never.
Right? Never, right? It's always like way different. But I was different from you. I always weighed everything pre-cooked.
Ah, so you got screwed.
Well, no, I mean, that's how I ate my food though. So if Chris Aceto wrote to me and said, you need 8 ounces of chicken, I would weigh it at 8 and then I would cook it. So I was different from what you do, because I still feel people overeat, absolutely, for sure. Okay, I would always weigh my pre-cooked weight. So that answers a huge question to people out there. How did Jay Cutler win Olympias? I never weighed my food based on how it was like cooked. It was pre-cooked.
But you did weigh it.
I weighed it.
With what?
With a scale. prior to cooking. And then with like rice and stuff, I'd measure by the cup. I didn't go by grams. I know everyone goes by whatever grams, but usually it was all pre-cooked measurements. So when I would get there, like the tin foil, we'd have everything packaged different, and have everything separated. So, okay, we had potatoes, we had fish, we had chicken, you know, we did red potatoes, sweet potatoes, regular potatoes. Wow. So if we had to get something really off diet, then it added in. And I never did anything off. Like, I wasn't a guy that ate like burgers and pancakes and stuff 2 days prior. So everything was on T, and everyone would be like, what's your last week look like? What's your food look like? It's the same thing I dieted for 16 weeks on.
Wow.
Or the last 15. So basically everything would be set to go, no meal prep. Nowadays it's so much easier. You guys have it so much easier out there because now you have the food prep companies, myself, you know, with MegaFit, you know, it's just, we can determine whatever meals we want, right? So I think it's ideal. You know, I know you know, with our stuff, we don't have any issues with people saying, oh, it doesn't weigh what it weighs. We're right on point. But I would always handle my cooking and know exactly what I'm putting on. That way, if I added a little sea salt or added pepper or seasoning. I was very careful with that because you know how crucial the salt is the last week, right?
Yeah.
But most of the time I carved up on rice, sweet potatoes, and then I would eat mostly like lean protein like fish, turkey breast. Really, rarely any red meat. I hated chicken. I still hate chicken to this day.
Wow.
Not a huge red meat eater, though. I'll still eat some beef. Auntie made me some great tacos yesterday, actually. But
How long would you actually start prepping the food before you head out to Columbus? Or,
I mean, I would prep it, the day prior,
So a whole day?
Yeah,
Take a
like,
whole day?
Carrie would help or like whatever, I would usually have kind of prep done early, meaning when I remember when we'd go do photo shoots a week prior in Costa Mesa, I used to plan it so like I would go to Costa Mesa within the 2 weeks out from the Olympia, and then I would do my photo shoots, and then at the Residence Inn over there, we'd cook all the fish and everything. We'd buy it from the fish market there, and then we'd cook all the potatoes and everything. So by the time we got to Vegas, it was like, boom, everything was done. So it was pretty easy.
Would you have to freeze it before you put it in the thing, or no?
No, I just put it on ice, and
Okay.
then by the time we got to Vegas, we had a fridge, or if we didn't have a fridge, bro,
Buy
which
one.
happened a lot, we just kept getting bags of ice and we kept it in the cooler.
Jeez, dude, that's hardcore.
But the cooler was huge,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
It was one of those big coolers, so
Yeah.
we'd have plenty of space, I'd have plenty of food, but most of the time I'd end up throwing half the food out. I always overcooked way more than I needed.
Well, it's better
We
to
didn't
have-
care because the show was so successful most of my career anyway,
Yeah.
that I never really lost. It was like I made so much money competing, and obviously with the sponsors and my performance, it was like, man, I'm not going to worry about losing $100 or $200 worth of fish and potatoes and stuff,
If you were competing again today, do you think you would still do it that way, or would you use meal?
I think I would still do it that way, especially the last week is crucial. I liked cooking, man. You know how I am. I mean, I can eat out every meal, and now I still tend to eat at home. I mean, even today we wanted to go for our Easter brunch today, and it was like, I'd rather. She made an awesome breakfast at home, and
Yeah.
as she's looking over here, look at her over there. She's trying to listen.
She's listening.
I was just saying how awesome the brunch was.
They'll see it.
And she said, woke up this morning, she's like, last night when we went to bed, she's like, you can take me to brunch tomorrow. We made our own brunch here, right? Not to say we still won't go out for brunch a little bit, but
Still early.
it is kind of nice, though, to be honest, that I don't have to prep like that now. You're the only bodybuilder in this house right now.
Has to throw that in there. Somewhere in the video it has to say something.
I know, but you and Brian Glenn are the most critical guys with food ever.
I'm not
But our
like him.
theories are different. See, so it just goes to show. I mean, the guy behind the camera, he uses fats. He weighs his meat
Cooked.
post cooked,
Yeah.
which he's always afraid of getting enough protein. Although you weigh what do you weigh 220,
Probably 250, 220. Yeah, something like
215, 220. So how much protein do you take in a day right now?
that. Like sometimes 300.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I always say, like, I only take in 300, but right here, I eat 100 grams
I
for
know.
breakfast,
I think
so,
you're way over sometimes. Yeah.
So, I just kind of count, like, okay, I don't count certain things that actually count. Like, even the Ezekiel bread has...
Right. 6 grams.
Has, I think, 4 grams per
Okay.
slice. So, I mean, I had 2 this morning. So, do I count that 8 grams of protein?
Probably not. Yeah.
I don't really count that as much. I only count, like, hey, these are the eggs, and she made 3 whole eggs, which I normally only eat 2. I eat 2 whole eggs every morning for breakfast, so I just have my theories and the way it works and what works for me.
Well, it worked for you, so yeah.
But I think, everyone's learning new things, but I think there's way too much information out there.
It's
It's way too much. But remember, food everyone uses Sundays as like, okay, they're food prep. So a lot of people today are prepping for their week, right? They cook their chicken breast in the grill or whatever they do. So I think it's good to be on that kind of schedule. That's how you stay on track. I couldn't imagine taking the 2 hours or so to do food prep for the whole week, man. That would seem like a lot to me. I'm so spoiled now just because my schedule's so crazy. But
even back then, you always said you like to eat fresh. You didn't want
I
to have
always
to.
eat the fresh,
Yeah.
but I just mentioned I would cook the chicken breasts on the grill, and I'd put them in the fridge. And dude, I was eating I didn't even use salt or anything. I was so bland with my stuff, like it was so just routine. And that's how I became great. Because listen, I didn't expect a lot. So when you start getting a lot out of little,
Yeah.
you're like, man, this is like this is like beneficial, right? But I remember I used to come, Dave, and I used to finish my shows, and I would be in California, I'd eat at the Cheesecake Factory, and I remember we didn't have that back in Mass, you know, where I was from. The closest one was like an hour away. And I remember just eating like trying a different cheesecake every night and being like, man, I could be on a cheesecake diet, especially after you diet for like 16 weeks, you know how it is, right? And I was talking no fats and like I didn't have cheats. Like Chris Aceto didn't have me on any cheats. I never cheated on my diet, ever, never, not a burger. I didn't touch one bad thing. So when the show came about, the show was over, I'm like, man, I can actually do this. And I would actually cheat on, you know, I'd have mini sliders and I'd have cheesecake. It was always sweets back then. Whereas now, if you said, oh, what would you eat today if you could eat? I'd say burgers and fries, right?
Yeah.
Pizza too, which I like eating pizza, which I'm not a huge pizza fan, but lately I've actually liked eating pizza, like thin crust pizza.
Stacks chips.
Stacks chips, yeah. I don't eat that much anymore though. I get too many now.
That was a good talk. Thanks, champ.